Hi guys and welcome to Double Monday. We're gonna play Clues by Sam again, and we have an easy one today as it is Monday. So if you wanna know the game because it's your first time, this is a great one to start. There is a link in the description to take you to it, and I'm gonna explain my logic as I go so you can get to learn the mechanics if you need any help. But besides the easy one, we're gonna do the bonus evil one from last week's newsletter, which we get every day. Not every day, every Monday on our email if you subscribe to it. So stay tuned for that after we do the easy one. Let's start with this. We start with Olive telling us there are no incenses above Luigi. Where's Luigi? So Luigi has two people above him. None of them are incenses, which makes both Diane and Ellen criminals. And now Helen says that both criminals below Diane are connected. Well, one of them is Helen, so the only other person who is below Diane and is connected to Helen has to be the other criminal, and that makes everybody else an innocent. Why is it in italic? Oh, it's because of Italy. I saw something on Blue Sky about this. Now Zara says that John is one of Irwin's 3 innocent neighbors. Well, Irwin has 5 neighbors total. One of them is John, who is an innocent. There's 2 more innocent neighbors for Irwin, so let's keep that clue there to remind us of that. Now, John says that exactly 1 innocent below Gabe is neighboring Luigi, and that innocent is Olive. She is below Gabe, and she neighbors Luigi, but the other person, who is Clay, couldn't be an innocent. Now, Clay says that exactly 2 of the 5 innocents neighboring them are below Flora. So there is 2 people below Flora who neighbor Clay, so both of them have to be innocents. And we also know that Clay has 5 innocents total. So far they have 4, which means that of the 2 people left who are not assigned a role yet, one of them is an innocent and the other one is going to be a criminal. Nancy now says there's an odd number of innocents neighboring Celia. Celia has 2 criminals neighboring her already, and only 1 innocent. 1 innocent is an odd number. So the only other person who is going to be Barb, the neighbor Celia, couldn't be an innocent as well. Otherwise, Celia would have 2 innocents neighboring her, and that's an even number. So Barb has to be a criminal. Not making a mistake today. Barb now says that exactly 1 innocent in row 1 is neighboring Irwin, and that innocent could only be Alice. It's the only other person besides Barb who neighbors Irwin in row 1. So Alice is one of the innocents neighboring Irwin. And according to Zara, we gotta remember that Irwin has 3 innocent neighbors, so that makes Isaac and Flora. 1 an innocent and the other one a criminal, so we can have 3 innocents neighboring Irwin. Now Alice says that row 5 is the only row with exactly 3 innocents. Well, we know that row 4 has 3 innocents so far, but row 4 is not row 5, so we couldn't be left with those 3 innocents, so that makes Mark a 4th innocent in that row. Any other rows who could have 3 innocents? I don't think so, so we don't need Alice's clue anymore. Now Mark says there are exactly 2 innocents in row 1. One of them is Alice, the other one could only be Celia. And now Celia says there's an equal number of innocents in rows 1 and 2, which means that row 2 has to have 2 innocents, and so far it only has 1, who's either going to be Flora or Gabe, so the second one has to be Irwin himself. Now Irwin says that there are 9 innocents on the edges. How many do we have already? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need 3 more. And we know that there's 3 innocents in row 5, right? So let's say that Rose and Will are both innocents and Xavier is a criminal. Now we have 3 innocents in row 5. How many is that in total on the edges? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need a 9th person to be an innocent, and that person is Isaac, which makes Flora a criminal, and that makes Gabe an innocent. Nice. Now, we don't need these tags anymore, and Gabe says that column D has more criminals than any other column. Criminals. So column D has 3 criminals, and there's no more people to assign roles to in that column, but that means that column B couldn't have 3. There's 1 person left who could be a criminal in that row, in that column. But if Will, who is in column B, were to be a criminal, then column B and column D would have the same number of criminals. So that doesn't work. Will has to be an innocent. Now we know that Rose and Xavier are one a criminal and the other one an innocent. And Will says that each column has at least one criminal, which makes column A need a criminal, and that has to be Rose, which makes Xavier an innocent. And we are done. That was nice. I like this one. 423. A good one. Very nice one to start the week and to warm up for the evil one. So let's get to that. Well, this is the evil one from February 9th. So last Monday's evil one. And I'm gonna redeem myself from yesterday's evil where I got a yellow from not thinking through a scenario. So let's pay attention to this one. I'm gonna restart the timer so we get it right. And let's look at Vance, saying that exactly 2 of Celia's 4 innocent neighbors also neighbor Noah. Celia and Noah share 2 neighbors, and both of them have to be innocent. So Ike and Jason both are innocents. And Vance also says that 2 more neighbors of Celia's are innocent, since she has to have 4 total. And that makes Celia have only 1 criminal neighbor. Now, what does Ike say? Exactly 1 guard has a criminal directly above them. Criminal. How many guards are there in total? 2. So that guard has to be Logan, because Noah is the only other guard on the board and he doesn't have a criminal above them. So Logan has to have a criminal. And that makes both Amy and Eve innocents because they neighbor Celia, and Celia needs 4 innocent neighbors. I don't need Ike's clue anymore. Now Jason says there's an equal number of criminals in rows 3 and 5. Okay, we're gonna act on that later. And Amy says that Olga is one of 4 criminals on the edges. So where's Olga? Here. Olga is a criminal, and we have 2 criminals on the edges so far. So 2 more to find. Eve says there's more innocent mechanics than innocent teachers. How many teachers are there? So there's 3 teachers, Frank, Kay, and Zara, and 3 mechanics, Max, Ruth, and Tyler. And what do we know? We know that all teachers are on the edges. First thing. If there have to be more innocent mechanics than innocent teachers, and we have 3 of each, at least one of the teachers has to be a criminal, right? So that's our 3rd criminal on the edge. But we also know that there's an equal number of criminals in rows 3 and 5. What happens is that row 5 has every single person on the edge. So if there's one criminal in there's one criminal in row 3 who's Olga, that puts a criminal in row 5. Let's say that's Sarah. Could I make it Zaya just so I can see? We know there has to be at least 1 criminal teacher, right? Trying to think, because 2 of the mechanics, every mechanic is not on the edge. So we could have one of them be a criminal. But could it be Max? If Max, let's say that Max is a criminal, then we would have 2 criminals in row 3, and that breaks, because now we need 2 criminals in row 5, since there's an equal number of criminals in rows 3 and 5. And there's 4 now criminals on the edges, but we would still need another teacher to be a criminal. since there has to be more instant mechanics than instant teachers. So that will break the criminals on the edges. Okay, Max couldn't be a criminal. Now Max says there's an equal number of criminals in rows 1 and 4. Criminals in rows 1 and 4. Interesting. Very interesting. Because everybody in row 1 is on the edges. So let's say that Celia is a criminal. We would need a criminal in row 4. And it couldn't be anybody on the edge. Because... why couldn't it be? Because we need at least one criminal teacher. So somebody would have to be not on the edge and a criminal. Let's say that's Tyler. And that makes 2 teachers needed as criminals. That breaks completely, because now let's say that Tyler is a criminal and one of the teachers, let's say that Kay is a criminal. So we don't interfere with row 1 or row 5 or row 4 or row 3. Let's say that Kay is a criminal. We still have the same amount of criminals and teachers and mechanics. So we would need another teacher to be a criminal. And could it be either Frank or Zara? If it were Zara, we know that row 3 needs one criminal. That's Olga, that's fine. But there's more criminals on the edges than there should be. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we need to have at most 4. So that breaks. Same for Frank. If Frank were to be a criminal, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 criminals are on the edges. So Celia couldn't be a criminal. That's one thing. Now Celia says that only one mechanic has exactly 6 innocent neighbors. That's rough. We have 3 mechanics, none of which we have many innocent neighbors to go by. But Tyler and Ruth both have a lot of people neighboring them on the edges. Let's say that Tyler... See, that's why I love the evil ones. You really gotta put your thought into it. More instant max and instant teachers. Yeah, we're keeping that in mind. There's an equal number of criminals in rows 3 and 5. We could, if Frank were to be a criminal, we could at most have 1 criminal in row 4. So that's one thing we gotta think about. And we also gotta think about rows 3 and 5. So we still need 1 criminal here in row 5. Let's say that Zaya is that person. Now Tyler has 2 criminal neighbors. But we know that we need at least 1 criminal teacher, right? If it were K. No one's talking about row 2, so we don't have to worry about that row. But we have to worry about a fourth person who's gonna be on the edge and be a criminal. Or do I not focus on K? Do I focus on Frank? If I focus on Frank, he's in row 1 and he's a criminal. So now we need a criminal in row 4. Who could be either Peter or Uma. Let's say that's Uma. That will make everybody else on the edge innocents. Wally, Zaya, Zara, Peter, Logan, and Kay. That breaks, because row 5 needs a criminal. And row 4 and row 1 have the same number of criminals so far, so that works. If it were Zara and Uma were to be an innocent, that works. That works. So we know for sure that one of the people who are in row 5 are going to be a criminal. Which means that we couldn't have. And that person for sure is going to be neighboring Tyler. We know that Ruth. I'm trying to make sure that we have no criminal mechanics, but it's pretty hard. Because let's say that this is the scenario. We will still need a criminal teacher who would have to be up here. And it could be K. That'll make everybody else on the edge an innocent. And now there's no, because row 1 doesn't have any criminals, there's no criminals in row 4, and that works. Because now there's more criminal teachers than criminal mechanics, since there are no criminal mechanics. So that works. In that scenario, Ruth already has more innocent neighbors than Tyler, and Tyler could have 6. Which is what the clue says, right? Only one mechanic has exactly 6 innocent neighbors. And Max wouldn't have 6 if Tyler had 6. Max and Ruth both have 7, so that works. If Wally... I don't know if I'm looking at the right thing. I'm just going around thinking about stuff. Am I thinking about rows 3 and 5? Yeah, that would work in the scenario I marked before. If Wally were to be an innocent, Zaya a criminal, and Noah would have to be an innocent actually. So that works. That solves the whole puzzle. If Zaya, but we're not gonna go with that, because we're not sure that there aren't any other scenarios that work. So let's look for those. Let's try to make Wally a criminal. If we make Wally a criminal, same thing applies to everybody else, as it did for Zaya. Now Tyler has 6 innocent neighbors, Ruth doesn't, neither does Max. Rows 5 and 3 have the same number of criminals. Rows 1 and 4 have the same number of criminals. And we have more criminal teachers than criminal mechanics. So the puzzle is also solved in this scenario. What if we make Wally an innocent and Zara a teacher? The puzzle is also solved in this scenario by the same rule. Tyler has 2 criminal neighbors, 6 innocent ones. Ruth doesn't have any. Max only has 1 criminal neighbors. And rows 5 and 3 have the same number. So who do we look at, given that, what we learned? Do we try to make Noah a criminal? And if we did, we would need a second criminal here in row 5. Could we then have every scenario work? No, we couldn't. Or could we? There are no criminals in row 1, no criminals in row 4. Same number of criminals in rows 3 and 5. 4 criminals on the edges. Ruth is the only mechanic with 6 innocents. No, she isn't. Max also has 6 innocents neighboring him. So 1 to her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Ruth has 6 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that breaks. No, is not a criminal. Right? That was hard. But I think I did good looking at it. Somehow. No one else says that only one column has exactly 3 innocents. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I shouldn't have taken my tags off. That would have helped me. Go back, go back. We go with Frank. Now everybody else here is innocent. Now, one of these guys is a criminal and the other one is innocent. So, that's 3. 1, 2, yeah. 1, 2, 3. That breaks, right? Because now we need one more criminal on the edge. But we will need 2 more criminals on the edges. And now we have a lot of columns with 3 innocents. Column D has 3 innocents. And at least one more column would have one more innocent. At least, yeah. Oh no, because columns B and C have 4 innocents, so that works. But then column A would have 3 innocents. So column A and column D have 3 innocents if Frank is innocent. Is that it? But we also know that that breaks because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 criminals are on the edges if Frank is an innocent. What if Frank's a criminal? If Frank is a criminal, we need a criminal in row 4. And it could be But we will need another criminal here in row 5. So maybe one of the mechanics. Oh, this is really evil. That's the most evilest puzzle I've ever seen. There are equal numbers, or maybe I'm not in my prime today. An equal number of criminals in rows 5 and 3 and 5. So we know we have at least one criminal here. That's okay. Now how many criminals do we have on the edges? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that breaks. Unless one of them is a mechanic. But if one of them is a mechanic, we will need a teacher to be the second one. So like 0. What if, clear the text, what if K were the criminal? The thing is that row 2 doesn't affect any other rows, so I'm trying to not focus on it. But if K is a criminal, then we know that we have 3 criminals on the edges, which gives us only one more. And we already know that if Frank is an innocent, everybody is an innocent here. And now we will need one innocent, one criminal on the edge here, and no more criminals. So this works. How many criminals do we have on the edges? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many criminals are there in row 4 and row 1? 0. So that works. How many criminals are there in rows 3 and 5? 1. So that works. How many mechanics do we have with 6 innocent neighbors? 1. So that works. What if we made K an innocent? If K were to be an innocent, we will need somebody else on the edge to be a criminal. Could it be Frank? And then in row 4, we need one criminal who is a mechanic. Let's say that's Ruth. It couldn't be Ruth. It would have to be Tyler. Oh, Ruth's innocent. Why? Because now we still have a mechanic who has 6 innocent neighbors, and there's also more criminal teachers than mechanics. If 2 of them are criminals. And how many criminals do we have on the edge? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this works for me. I'm okay with this. So K could either be a criminal or an innocent. Who do we focus on? Can we make Peter a criminal? And if we made Peter a criminal, we know that Frank has to be a criminal. Now everybody else is an innocent on the edge because we have our total 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rows 4 and 1 have the same number of criminals. And now there's no criminals in row 5. Which we need to have, because there's one criminal in row 3. So Peter couldn't be a criminal. Way to go. No new clues. Could the same happen with Logan? If Logan is a criminal. Now we have 2 criminals on the edges on row 3. So that's our 3 criminals on the edges. And we will need 2 criminals in row 5. And now there's more criminals on the edges than we should have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Logan has to be an innocent as well. And now we know that there's only one criminal in row 5, which makes somebody else in row 4, in column D, an innocent. What am I trying to say? I'm confused. Yeah, because we're gonna have only one criminal here in row 5. Go on then. This is gonna work. I'm confident. So only one column has exactly 3 innocents. No, it's not column A for sure. Let's say that Zara is a criminal now. That makes both Zaya and Wally innocents. There's no way for Ruth to have 6 innocent neighbors, so we would have to be Tyler, because there's no way for Max to have 6 innocent neighbors either. So that makes Uma an instant. And Ruth. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we would still need somebody else here who is a teacher to be a criminal, and that forces Tyler to be to be a criminal as well. Or does it? It could be an instant, doesn't matter. We just have to have more criminals. And 0 is less than 2. What if... Is there a way for Uma to be a criminal? And if she's a criminal, Frank has to be a criminal. And that breaks row 5 here. That needs to have a criminal. So Uma is an instant. Woohoo! I like it. I like the encouragement. What do we figure out now? I can't believe I'm doing this with so few clues. Do we try to figure Wally? If we try to figure Wally, then both of these guys are going to be instants. And we would have a one or the other here. With Kay and Frank. Now we have a column with 3 instants. Because column D has Uma, it's going to have Zara, and the third person who's either going to be Frank or Kay as an instant. That means that no other columns could have 3 instants. So both Tyler and Ruth... Oh, with Tyler doesn't matter because we have a 4th instant already in column C. But Ruth would have to be an instant for sure. Tyler does have his 6 instant neighbors. Because we know already that he's going to be the one mechanic with 6 instant neighbors. But he couldn't be a criminal. Because otherwise, Ruth and Tyler both would have 6 instant neighbors. And Max, every mechanic would have 6 instant neighbors. So Tyler couldn't be a criminal. And he also couldn't be a criminal because now we have the same number of criminal mechanics and teachers. So 1 and 1. Tyler being a criminal breaks everything. Because now row 4 has a criminal and Frank, yeah. So this doesn't work. Is there a way it could work? If, let's say that he is a criminal, we know that Frank has to be a criminal, but we know that we have to have a second teacher who is a criminal. And it would have to be Zara. Nah, because now Max has to. Criminal neighbors, which makes them have 6 instant ones. And now we have 2 mechanics with 6 instant neighbors. We know that Tyler for sure is gonna have 6 instant neighbors. We couldn't have Max have 6. So we know that both Ruth and Tyler are instant. Is that what we know? Is it? Because there's no way that row 4 could have 2 criminals. Because there's no way for row 1 to have 2 criminals. So we know that Tyler couldn't be a criminal at all. Good job, thank you. I'm gonna cry. And now since Ruth couldn't be a criminal because that would make Max have 2. But the thing is that if Ruth were a criminal and Frank were a criminal, and Tyler had Zara as a criminal neighbor, now Tyler doesn't have 6 instance neighboring him. Then we have two teachers who are criminals, which is more than the mechanics. So this works. Max has 6 instant neighbors. Ruth doesn't have any. Tyler has 5. And K would be an instant. How many criminals we have on the edges? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many rows we have with 3 instants? Not row. How many columns? Not column A. Not column B has 4. Not column C, it has 4. And not column D, it doesn't have any. It doesn't have any. It has 2. I'm going crazy. It has 2. So now we have no columns with 3 instants, which breaks Noah's. So Ruth has to be an instant as well. Mechanic breathing. What do we do now? We know there has to be 3 instances in this. Oh, we know that Frank is an instant now because everybody in row 4 is an instant. Oh, and he gives us a new clue. Thank you. There are more criminals in column A than column B. Criminals. So there's no criminals in column B because there's only 1 criminal in column A. Wally is an instant then, which makes Zaya and Zara 1 an innocent and the other one a criminal. And we also know that Zara and Kay are 1 an innocent and the other one a criminal because we need 1 criminal teacher. Oh, but we need 2 criminal teachers. Nah, because Zaya could be a criminal, which will make Zara an innocent, and that will make Kay a criminal, and now we have 4 criminals on the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4. And column B has 3 instances. If on the other hand Zara were to be a criminal and Zaya an innocent, then either we don't have 4 criminals on the edges because we need 3 instances in column D, so 1, 2, 3, or we don't have 3 instances in column D and we have 4 criminals on the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Zara couldn't be a criminal. She has to be an instant. That makes Kay a criminal. And Zaya an instant. Fuck me. I can't believe I did that on the last one. I'm so sorry. And it took me only half an hour. It felt like a lifetime. Oh, I can't believe I did that. I was so proud of myself. You see, when this happens, I do feel the urge to re-record, but it was so good and it felt so good and I was doing so well. And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm doing this because this is really hard. This one was really hard. And like I said, I really don't know if it was me recording this later in the day or if the puzzle is actually more than evil. It's brutal. Actually, I think the evils are classified as harder than brutal ones from what I remember from the pack. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself. Even though I did the yellow there, so I'm really sorry about that. Let me know if you played this one and how it went for you, if you did finish it, and how you thought different than me, because I bet we had very different lines of thought for this one. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. Not so dramatic though. Bye bye.